Hey viewers, how's it going? My name's DividableHalo HD. Welcome back to another interview. Today we are joined by ShadowDirector from the Shields of Shadow. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah, you sound pretty fine. Anyways, today we're going to be doing an interview with the Shields of Shadow leader, ShadowDirector. So when did you first join the Halo clan community?
I joined in 2009 actually, but the clans we made they weren't really too popular. They were more for fun. But logically, I joined in 2010, but didn't really make too much of an appearance. So the first clan I ever joined, which was actually successful, was actually the United Union Federation. But within the next 48 hours, I was considered a spy for NAVCOM. Within in that time jurisdiction, I didn't even know what NAVCOM was. So I decided to leave, and obviously when Halo 4 came out, I decided to come back, and we rebelled against the UF with the Optimum Empire, which was originally just supposed to take out the UF, but didn't last very long, as the leaders were generally corrupt. Optimum Alloy was the leader and founder of the clan. What he then decided to do was leave his own clan to actually create, well, not create, more like join us, S2 conscription in NAVCON, neglected the clan. Then we all turned on each other for the loss of power. And sadly enough, all the leaders left. I took hand, but then the members were just so undisciplined and hopeless, I just disbanded it.
Alright, so where did you go afterwards?
Well, after Optimum Empire, I joined the Battlefield community for a little bit and joined the Battlefield Reddits, where eventually I became leader of the Europe division. After a while, I decided to retire and made an appearance back on Reach. So I decided to join, as we all know it, SOH, known as the Shield of Honor. I joined thinking it was a Halo 4 clan, but then was notified it was actually Halo Reach, so that's when I made my appearance then.
Alright. So let's go back to the first one. What basically inspired you to join clans in the first place?
It was more the gathering of people and just the feeling of people want to succeed and become professional. As generally, I've always had that feel for games, where you want to get with a group of people that have the same ambitions for as you do, to want to become successful in the gaming genre, and being able to work together as a team to take out other teams to prove that you're the best over the other players around in the community in general.
Now, did you find clans through recruitment videos or just through random games?
It was a bit of both. I found the UF through a recruitment video, but there's been some clans that have tried to approach me, but I've only joined for a certain amount of time.
Alright. So what basically happened during your time in SOH going back to that, the Shields of Honor?
Obviously, I joined like any other person, a recruit. I remember causing trouble within like my first couple of days of being there, as I didn't really like the person who was leading the training sessions, Matty 442. After a while, I eventually proved loyalty and generally ranked up the ranks quite rapidly. I made my appearance of being a second lieutenant. Um, During this process, of course, there were small conflicts within the clan. Obviously, as we all know, Game of Hodor, I believe his gamer tag was at the time, he kept leaving and joining, and he kept taking the members, ODST division specifically. And every time that happened, the clan kind of went downhill. Eventually, he done it for the last time. Joe didn't want to rebuild the clan, so he decided to disband it, and that was pretty much it, really.
Alright. So you obviously enjoyed your time in the clan, the Shield of Honor, right?
Yes, that is correct. I proudly say that I enjoyed every moment of being an SOH.
Now, were you really on good terms with Joe when you were in the clan?
When I was in the clan, in my opinion, I would say me and Joe were good friends. We talked quite a lot. I helped him as much as I could with the clan, etc.
Alright. So obviously a lot of people already know that basically the Shield of Shadows is based off the Shield of Honor. Do you want to weigh on like how it came to be?
Well, before before obviously people say that, but it actually wasn't. Originally, obviously, when SOH was already gone, and as we all know, SOH created another clan called Reborn Soldiers, which was supposed to be something like SOH originally. And I was a major of the ODSTs, but I ended up leaving to join RSL, and I quite liked how Sangheili clans operated. So the original idea was supposed to be Shield of Shadows was actually supposed to be a Sangheili group. But one of my guys which is now goes by the name Shadow Archive, told me it wouldn't be too much of a good idea, so we changed it into military. The Reborn Soldiers obviously eventually disbanded as well, and that was when Joe made that video, I believe, when he was in the process of making a recruitment video for it, and I was there saluting to him being promoted in the recruitment video, and yeah, pretty much. There's not really much to say about that, but apart from first, obviously, we were military, and then from military we went to UNSC based, and then to UNSC canon.
Alright, so Shield of Shadows, they were basically created during the time that the Shield of Honor did not exist, right? Or
That is correct.
disbanded. So
Yes, correct.
basically, did you shape the emblem of the Shield of Shadows to be similar to the Shield of Honor?
In game or the actual logo itself?
The actual logo itself.
I didn't make the logo. Joe himself made the logo. He made it for us because the original idea of SOS was to withheld members for SOH when it restarted. They would get the loyalists to rejoin, and then I was going to rejoin with the people I had, which were old Marines within SOH. However, when they restarted, I saw quite a bit of potential in the SOS, and I could see it going quite far. And I had told Joe, hey, I'm not going to rejoin back SOH because I quite like leading my own clan. I was going to do my own thing, but I'll be glad to help you whenever you need it. What I didn't understand was when I said that, he was completely fine with me, but then give it a couple of days, and anger just came out of him, and I got word from Matayar 442. He private chatted me during one of my training sessions that they were going to declare war on us if we didn't join back, pretty much.
All right, so they did declare war, right?
That is correct.
And what exactly unfolded? Where did all this drama between SOS and SOH occur? Did they just randomly decide to just hate you? Or
well, I mean, Joe says otherwise, but the real reason is that we didn't join back SOH, and that's why he's not really too fond of us. The conflict began simply because I didn't join back, and I believe he got really offended for that, and decided to rage war on us. I would say it was for no reason. I just didn't want to join back, and I wanted to do my own thing. And I believe as a person, if one of my guys decided to leave and create a clan, and if I didn't give them a good enough reason for them to come back, then I would let them do what they want to do, because technically their clan they're going to create will be like yours, so therefore your clan will always live on in the opposite.
Alright, so what basically happened during this time of war when SOH declared war on SOS?
Well, according to Joe Layton himself, he says he's never declared war on us, and the raids he uploaded to the channel where it says Shield of Shadows exposed, apparently, according to him, they were practice raids, when in reality they were far from practice raids.
So, what were these practice raids? Were they actually real raids?
Yes, they were indeed.
Now, what did he have to expose, basically?
He was basically just exposing the fact that, well, to be honest, I believe it was just us ending a game. It was under timed conditions that the raid was supposed to be like an hour and 30 minutes or somewhat, and they had breached that time zone, and they refused to leave the game, so then I just ended it. As I didn't really understand the rules, I ended it thinking, you know what, we've won, but in reality we had lost because we ended the game, so...
Alright, so what happened later on? later on, like I believe I did an interview with SOH themselves, like a lot of the members from the clan, and most of the time they were just trash talking you and your clan.
Yeah, SOH have like a fetish for trash talking SOS in a way. Within most of the videos they do, is mostly related in trash talking me. I believe it's pathetic. Because at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know, times, you know, you want to move forward, and I find it pretty sad that they're kind of like lingering on the past and they're not letting me move on with what I'm trying to do. Because I've noticed whenever I've mentioned SOH in my videos, not even if it's in a good way or in general, they'll comment with just hate mail, and it's just pathetic. It's just what SOH does. If they know that that someone's like going to be a problem for them or is better than them, they'll trash talk them. They won't trash talk people that are better than them, though. That's just how they've always operated.
All right. Now, a lot of when I was doing the interview, they were kind of like getting rowdy with each other, and they just kept swearing and doing that. When you were in SOH yourself, were they actually doing that still, or was it more differently than the way? Like,
When I was in SOH, they still trash talked, but it wasn't as bad as it is today. You would think, my bad, that people would progress in behavior, but they haven't. They're far from it. They've actually worsened. SOH have always been one of those clans that pick at the small things people do in raids to win the game. For example, I believe was doing a raid against General, I think it's pronounced Stafford or Stanford, and they couldn't get into the base, but the base was right there. They could not get in, and because they spawn killed a couple of our guys a couple of times without sending them any warning messages, they just said, you know what, we've won the raid, just back out. And they've done this countless times with other people where they've got spawn killed a little bit, and then they just leave the game without sending any word of warning. They just leave saying, you know what, raid win, we've won. And that's what they do in general.
all right.
They've always done it.
So what happened like towards afterwards? Like I noticed that you've also like tried to fight them off as well, like trash talking yourself, and many more.
Yeah.
But are you currently to this day right now still trash talking, or do you just ignore them in total?
To be completely honest, it's a bit of both. I mean, I've got just so tired of the abuse that it doesn't really affect me anymore. It's because not too long ago I had Joe joining my party. I believe it was last month, and he just came in saying "Packy this, Packy that," and his members came in as well, and they were just insulting me. We tried. One of my guys called ShadowDirector tried sorting the problem out politically, but then was just told to shut the fuck up. I mean, their actual respect for people is just appalling. Just in general, it's just very, very appalling.
All right. So in the near future, do you think you'd still, or like in the future, to be exact, are you gonna still be exactly fighting with them, or are you just gonna be ignoring them more often, or no?
Well, I mean, SOS was originally going to do something where we won't fight any clans that have no respect for other people. But then that would have, people would obviously argue against that, so we decided not to do that. Personally, I wouldn't even class it as beef with SOH anymore. I just say SOH have like a grudge against me that we didn't come back. Because one of the original reasons why some of the people in my clan never rejoined back SOH was because Joe always shouted at his members, and he didn't treat them like human beings, in my opinion. Because after I had left to create SOS originally, it was a one-man clan, which was just myself, and Team Foreman got into a 8v8. Obviously, I didn't make SOS official, but I was in RSL at the time, so I got them into an 8v8 with RSL. They lost, and Joe went ballistic at his members. I believe he abused them, and they ended up leaving. That was something else I forgot to mention earlier on. One of the reasons why Joe doesn't like me is because of that one as well, was because I got them a loss on their competitive record, which was never added on to their record, just to add.
Alright. So, we're going to change the topic because either way, in the future, Joe will probably still try to fight SOS. But moving on, you guys obviously went from military to UNSC, right?
That's correct.
What inspired you guys to change from your military ranks to the UNSC?
Well, obviously, our ranking structure was completely based off of SOHs, and when we looked it up and done more research, which was obviously recently, we saw that a lot of their ranks, some of them were actually in the Navy, and their Marine ranking structure was wrong in some cases. We I've never liked the military aspect of things, in my opinion. I've never liked how it's been. I guess one of the things I did like was there was no limits in what you could do. There was no restrictions. Whereas in the UNSC, there's more restrictions in who you can attack, which is better, as obviously you understand the value of war more than being in military. So in the UNSC side of things, you kind of understand everything's value than being in military. Because SOS originally was actually a Star Wars clan before people start talking anything else. It was originally a Star Wars clan. We used a Clone Wars structure and color scheme, but then that's when we changed it to SOH structure, and then we made the UNSC structure. But for some odd reason, people still say we copy SOH, when if you look at our structures, they're nowhere near the same anymore.
Alright, so what was the reaction of many UNSC clans when you joined the community or transferred basically your ranks and everything to that community?
Well, when we originally moved over to UNSC based, people still classed us as insurrectionists, as people say. As obviously people know, military clans are non-canon insurrectionists. HighCom was actually one of the first people to not like us and welcome us in. That's because we were non-canon. But since we've become UNSC canon, we've actually had no problems from the UNSC community, apart from the UNSCDF, which one of their guys, Easy Shots, ended up attacking me not long ago for no reason.
Alright. Now, what is the difference between canon and non-canon UNSC clans, to be exact?
I mean, I would generally say canon clans obviously use the emblems like the anchor, the flaming skull for the ODSTs, the shield, and the actual the Greek Spartan face. It's generally just the emblems and the colors, and generally following the code of law of the UNSC itself. Basically following it by the book, in other words.
Now, was Shield of Shadows non-canon when they first became UNSC?
When we first went UNSC base, yes, we were non-canon, as we still used SOH's structure and emblem. But then, after being with the UNSC community for a bit, the first clan I think I came across, which actually helped us along the lines, which was UBH, being our 1-2. And looking at their structure, I quite admired how it was. It looked quite interesting, and I was like, you know what, I want to be UNSC canon as well. So, UBH director nudged me and helped me out there in sorting it out, and obviously I went on Halo Wiki, found out the structure, and ended up changing it over.
Alright, now what exactly happens? Like, obviously, are you a Spartan, right?
I'm not a real Spartan, no. I'm just the opposite of naval intelligence. I have not been conscripted, no.
So, do you have any conscripted Spartans in your clan?
No. If we want, I mean, as you know, Halo Reach is 5 years old, right? Well, coming up to 5 years. So there's no point in getting conscripted on a 5-year-old game, as Halo 5 is literally round the corner. I don't really see as being a Spartan a special thing, really. Being a leader is good enough for me, but if I was going to get people conscripted, I would send them to the UNSC, Kurt's UNSC.
Alright. Was there any big, war conflicts between your times in SOH? Or SOS, sorry, my bad? Like, any big wars?
We had a war, as we like to call it, the War of the Bloodline, which was one of our guys called ShadowDirector decided to steal quite a lot of our cadet force and half the Marines, and decided to create a clan called the Shield of Eagles, which was obviously a rebellion against us, which was made in Generation 2. And what then occurred was it was obviously continuous firing on a daily basis. We got one of SOH's guys, one of their top guys called a Game of Hoda, to join SOS for a short time. And he ended up helping us out during the war. However, towards the end of the war, the Spartans I had, IMU X Bullet, Zay YO, and X Mythic I, betrayed me, and they ended up joining the SOE. However, they didn't join them to stay; they just joined to corrupt the clan. And because by the time the war was over, I was so beat up, there was nothing. I had no military power because a lot of my followers left me due to the fact that when the war was over, the clan was wounded, and they joined back, the people that had left, and we decided to do a spy op on SOH, and we rejoined, well, I personally rejoined, to mess up their structure, which is what I had done successfully. As soon as I had left, they changed from being an independent military clan to competitive base, because in my opinion, I kind of ruined their cadet system. That would be one of the most notable wars. Obviously, the SOH being one of them, but everyone already knows about that one. We did have small conflicts with RSL, but they weren't really too notable.
Alright. So, we're gonna move to SOH once again. Was there any... Who was, like, more superior in, like, raids or, like, competitive battles?
In my opinion, I would say a game of Hodor has always been the ringleader of SOH. He done most of the work and kept everyone together. As people know, the members will know this. When every time Hodor had left SOH, the entire ODST division would leave with him, and SOH has always ran off their ODSTs. So whenever Hodor left, SOH kind of went downhill, and Joe didn't know how to contain all those people and keep them all together. However, things had changed when he started getting better players joining the clan. In competitive battles, I mean, it was a bit of both. I mean, Joe and Hodor were pretty decent, but I wasn't really too involved in the competitive genre. As for raids, it was usually the highest commanding officer that was in the game. Usually Joe would be the one commanding the raids, and with Hodor at his side, of course.
Alright. So, is there anything else you'd like to mention or bring up for this interview that people have not heard of, or you just want to get out there?
Well, apart from the fact that SOS is actually going to be launching Operation Trebuchet, I can pronounce it properly now. So yeah, we're going to be launching that, where we'll be fighting all the insurrectionists on Reach, as I really need to get some clan activity. We also can confirm that there's going to be future operations against the entire Sangheili faction, where we will be going to war with them as well. We don't have any plans on including any other UNSC clans. We're just going to do this on our own, as we want to. Obviously, eventually we're going to leave Halo Reach and move over to Halo 5. So we want to kind of give Generation 4 out with a bang before we start Gen 5.
Alright, so is that all, or you got anything else?
That's all.
Alright, so I'm going to be asking your last question, and this, we didn't really cover this in the interview, but let's just hear your opinion first. What do you believe, like, the Halo Clan community is? Like, when you first joined, there was a lot of activity for the Golden Ages when you were in UUF. Now, did you see a decline, like, later on?
I'm sorry?
For population of, like, clans, have you seen, like, a decline later after the Golden Ages?
Well, to be honest, it's roughly, in my opinion, I would say it's roughly the same now. I mean, obviously, since all the bigger clans went over to MCC, and when the big clans kind of moved over, it kind of give the smaller clans more confidence, knowing that those big clans are not going to be in the way of their true ambitions, which has actually brought on quite a lot more leadership, bringing the community back. However, I would say in the old community days, no one would really decline battles, and nowadays people decline them almost every day. It's very hard to find a raid, as when you challenge someone, you go, hey, I want a raid. They agree to it. Like, I've challenged the GWR countless times to raids, but they've never showed up. And when they did show up, they lasted about 20 minutes, and then they ended up leaving. So I would definitely say the old community is better.
Alright, so for my last question I'm going to ask you is, how do you believe we can basically kind of improve on the community?
For starters, I would say everybody in this entire community needs to fix how they talk to others. I mean, myself included, as we all need to think of it as, at the end of the day, it's all a role play. Obviously, clans in general, it is a role play. And obviously, everyone has their own idea of things, but we need to do what we used to do and sit down in lobbies We need to talk about things more, and I believe we should generally people need to come together more. As because people have been so away from each other, um, more conflicts have kind of risen up with different factions, like the UNSC now picking at the military, and the military picking at us, and then the Sangheili jumping in. You know, it's all starting off again, which is good, but people kind of handle it differently now, the way they did back then. Because back then there wasn't too much trash talk, but now it's way too much. People are taking it to an extent that doesn't need to be breached. For example, insulting their person is not right. And obviously, you've probably seen for yourself the Facebook posts in assaulting the way people look, their disabilities as a human being. I believe that's just wrong. But if the community wants to get better, you have to understand that you have to make the community more civilized, because you're kind of scaring off all those young clan leaders out there that want to build a clan, maybe because at the end of the day, you may be their inspiration, and being that person that's being horrible, you never know, you might be turning them away, and that's what's damaging the community, is the fact that people are kind of turning away the new gen of clans in forcing them to merge, or using a quote-unquote DDoSer on them. That's what Wolverine does nowadays. So, in general, I would say being more civilized would help the community come away.
All right. I believe that's all we have to cover. Is there yeah, there's any? You pretty much said your last words, right?
That's correct.
All right. I'd like to thank you, ShadowDirector, for coming on this interview.
Thank you.
Alright guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like it up. If you guys have any questions for ShadowDirector, I'm pretty sure he'll watch this video or comments, reply to anybody. Leave it down in the comments below. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys all later. Bye.